Hey y'all, this is Jillian from Maxine Makes Magic, and I am so excited to announce my Disney series. We are going to be focusing on all of the incredible food that you can find throughout the Disney parks and in Disney movies, and today we're focusing on the famous gray stuff from Beauty and the Beast. I'll link the recipe in the caption below. This recipe was a little bit troubling, but at the end of the day, it was really fun. It tasted really good, and you know what? We accomplished the gray stuff, so let's dive on into it. For the base of our mousse, we're gonna need 1.5 cups of cold whole milk, as well as a 3.4 ounce package of vanilla jello pudding mix. And I have to say the packaging on this is so cute. I know they're going back to the more retro jello packaging vibes. I just thought it was absolutely adorable when I noticed that in the store and wanted to share. Now using our trusty whisk, we're just gonna go ahead and whisk the ingredients together for about 2 minutes or until the pudding starts to become a little bit stiff. You'll start to notice a little bit of resistance on your whisk and you'll know it's done. Now to get that gray color, we're gonna use Oreo cookie sandwiches or any real chocolate cookie sandwich you have in your grocery store. You're gonna need about 15 sandwich cookies. To crush up the sandwich cookies, I just toss them into my Vitamix. You could also use a normal blender. You could use a food processor, mortar and pestle, or even a plastic bag and just use the back of a spoon or maybe a rolling pin just to crush up those cookies, but you really want to ensure they go into a fine powder because we are going to mix this into the mousse and you want to maintain that really light and fluffy texture. Now for the fun part, we're going to take our Oreo crumbles and we're going to mix that into our pudding that sat in the fridge for about 1 to 2 hours or until it's set up. You could also do this overnight, whatever works best for you and your schedule. I just went ahead and mixed those Oreo cookie crumbles right into our vanilla pudding mix. The more you mix, you're going to start seeing that really nice gray color come together, and that is exactly what we're looking for. Following the initial pudding mix, we are going to go ahead and add 3 tablespoons of chocolate jello pudding mix into our already established gray stuff. To add in that much needed light texture, we're going to put an entire 8-ounce container of Cool Whip right into our pudding base. You begin to incorporate the Cool Whip. Just be very careful that you're not too aggressive while mixing. We don't want to deflate any of the air that you can find in the Cool Whip mixture. I wasn't completely satisfied with the color of the quote-unquote gray stuff. It looked very brown to me, so I went ahead and added in a little bit of black food coloring. This is totally optional, and I'll be completely honest with you. You'll find where this caused a lot of problems for me down the line in the recipe, so I would highly recommend skipping this step. It's truly not worth it if you're really just trying to make this recipe as easy as possible. But if you want it to look extremely gray, you're going to go ahead, take a little bit of the original base, and you're going to just add food dye to a portion of it. Separate that out like you saw me doing a second ago, and then you're going to add that back into your overall mixture. You're going to fold that in. The biggest downfall here is because we're incorporating that a little bit of additional mixture into our main base. We have to really work that in to get the color consistent, and that's going to deflate all of the air that's in the Cool Whip, which we don't want, because if you're working with a mousse, you want it to be light and fluffy so it stays really stiff on the cookie base we're about to make. But we'll talk more about how I was able to rectify the situation later in the video. To make our sugar cookie base, I had some sugar cookie dough that I made a while back and froze. You can definitely use any store-bought cookie dough. I'll include the recipe that I use below. It's my go-to sugar cookie recipe that I was able to find. It's really good, so go ahead and check that out in the caption below. I'm just taking the pre-made cubes from before, rolling that into a giant ball because we are going to have to roll this out and use a cookie cutter to get our base. So I just put it down on a floured parchment paper piece, rolled it around, and I'm going to use my rolling pin to roll out the dough. Now, I didn't have a round cookie cutter that had little scallops on the outside, so I went ahead and just grabbed an old school heart-shaped scalloped cookie cutter. You guys are gonna see by the time they come out of the oven that they just end up being a really cute heart shape. We weren't able to achieve that really cute scalloped edge, but that's totally okay. As long as you have a really good sugar cookie base to work with here, that's the most important thing.
All right, y'all, it is time to assemble the gray stuff. We've got all of our ingredients ready to go. Right off the top, I want to look back at the inspiration picture. Things are going to be a little bit different. We are making them at home, but we're really just trying to emulate the original design as much as we possibly can. I used a homemade sugar cookie base. You definitely can use some from the store, no big deal. I didn't achieve that scallop shape, but I did go ahead and just create a really cute heart shape, so we're gonna go ahead and use that today. We also have our gray stuff. I wanted it to be more of that true gray color, so I did go ahead and add in some black food dye. You definitely do not have to do that if you're a dye-free household, or you just don't want to buy the ingredients for it, whatever the reason may be. You can just use the color as is or the mix as is. It's going to be more of a brownish gray color instead of a true gray. That's fine. Another part of that you have to keep in mind is when you're mixing in that food dye, you're going to deflate some of that Cool Whip that you added for that lightness. So I am actually going to have to take this and pop it into my stand mixer with a whisk attachment to just beat some air back into the mix. The reason why is it will not stand stiffly on the cookie if we don't get some of that air incorporated back in. Something to keep in mind there. We also have some of our decorations. They added a little bit of Oreo crumbs or Oreo sandwich cookie crumbs on top. I just took a mortar and pestle and crushed up 2 additional cookies. You also can just take a plastic bag, pop some Oreo cookies inside or some chocolate sandwich cookies, use the back of a wooden spoon or a rolling pin even, and just lightly crush those guys up. It's going to start to stick together a little bit at first because of that cream, but don't panic. If you continue to just smash, it will end up coming together, so don't panic. Or if you want to keep it easy, take the cream filling out. If you want to eat it, great, and then just use the 2 sandwich cookies. We also have some red Christmas sprinkles that we're going to use. They have some other interesting sprinkles that they used in the recipe, but I do not have those at home. I have red sprinkles at home. I have red sprinkles at home. So I'm going to use those. And last but not least, they use these gray and white little pearl sprinkles. I had gold and white. And I think the gray looks really good with the recipe that they created to look like the original. This could even be the original from the part, but it goes with the gray theme. However, I have gold at home, and if you're thinking of that really pretty belle dress, that goldish yellow, we're going to accomplish that with the sprinkles. So now that we've got everything ready to go, I'm going to go ahead, add some extra air into this real quick, and then we can start assembling. I don't have it out right now, but you're also going to need a piping bag and a Wilton tip, or any piping tip that you might want to use to get that spiral effect. But first, let's get some air incorporated back into the mix. As you guys can see, the mix is super runny, like super runny. What I'm going to actually do is 2 different things here. We're going to tell you a little bit of a test. I am going to put this in the fridge overnight, let it chill, and try to re-whip it up tomorrow. What I'm also going to do though is I whipped up a cup of heavy whipping cream initially. So I just took my blender, mixed it for about 2 minutes until I got stiff peaks. Again, to get stiff peaks, all you have to do is run the top of your mixing blades around the bottom of the bowl, turn it upside down, and you're hoping to get stiff peaks. Now, this is not super stiff. We still need to work this a little bit, but this is after I actually added some of the original mix into the heavy whipping cream. We're gonna go 2 different tests here. We're gonna try to see if adding this to heavy whipping cream helps us achieve a more stiff consistency, or if the original mix can be rejuvenated after being in the freezer overnight. Can we let that chill back up, because it does have Cool Whip, it's got pudding in there. Let's see if those ingredients can come back to life. But in the meantime, let's see how far we can take this and try to get
that original texture like we see in the book. And this should not impact the taste. I've given a little bit of a taste test to this. You still really get that cookies and cream mousse flavor, so I wouldn't get too bent out of shape about it, but we're just gonna go in and continue to kind of incorporate these back and forth until we get the right texture and consistency that we need to get it the way we want it. Certainly not what I was expecting when making this, but you know what? That's why we try out recipes to see how things work, and that's all a part of the fun. It's never going to be perfect, so. My house is not the parks, so. And I am not a professional chef, so we're trying to learn this one together. I will let this chill a little bit too once I'm done mixing this. I won't pipe it right away, so we're just gonna scrape on the bottom of the bowl and see. Now we're getting back to that really soupy texture. So what you can do, that's how I like to clean the whisks off, is pop this back in the fridge, let that cream set up, and then we can go back to whipping this again. So we'll be back, we'll give that a shot, and we'll see how it goes. As you guys can see, this chilled in the fridge overnight and it is still pretty soupy, pretty gummy, so it's at this point a fail. However, when we did the heavy whipping cream mixture, put it in the fridge overnight and then re-whipped it up, we did get more of that stiff texture that we actually can pipe right onto our cookie. I wouldn't worry too much about the original mousse. If you go ahead and just pop that in your freezer and let it chill up again overnight, it does turn out like ice cream, so it doesn't go to waste. So we're gonna go ahead and take our secondary heavy cream style mixture and we're gonna go ahead and pipe that directly on top of our cookie. I will say I really don't know how this recipe would last in the Magic Kingdom. And with this book, I'm not 100% sure, and I highly doubt this is the actual recipe that they use in the parks, but this would be such a melty mess on a warm Florida day. But nevertheless, it did turn out really delicious. It just melted really quickly. Where I'm at currently, it is just about to be the height of summer, so it certainly is pretty warm out, but I felt like this melted a lot quicker than I anticipated. I think if you're gonna make a recipe like this, it would be really fun for a movie night with family or close friends. I definitely wouldn't recommend trying to create this for any sort of party or event. I truly don't think it would last more than 3 to 5 minutes out on a table. So just bear that in mind. But I do think this was a really, really fun part 1 to my Disney baking series. So stay tuned. I do have some more really fun recipes coming down the pipeline to share with you guys really soon. If you want to see more Disney Parks content, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along for more. As always, this is Jillian from Maxine Makes Magic, and I hope you have a magical day. As always, this is Jillian from Maxine Makes Magic, and I hope you have a magical day.